Welcome to another episode of Car Ride Conversations with Chronically Rye, featuring me. I'm Rye. We are finally back in my car, and it has been so long since I filmed one of these, I just had to look up the intro. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad, guys. It's been a crazy month. Crazy summer. We're gonna go with crazy summer. So, let's get back into business, shall we? I've missed y'all. I've missed our chats, even if they're a bit one-sided at first. I still have missed them. The feedback that I get from these videos is like the greatest thing, may I just say. That is not why I've gathered you all here today to join me in my car, in my parking lot. So today, this is a topic I've actually wanted to talk on for a while, and I've touched on it in some posts. I mean, it's hard being a disability advocate and not repeating yourself, especially having this platform for as many years as I have. Excuse me. What I wanted to talk about today is grief. No one has passed away that's close to me or anything like that. And like most of you, when I first think of the word grief, I think of, funerals, tombstones, death, dying, the whole nine, especially working in medicine. We think of the grieving process, of, the different stages of grief. That's generally what comes to mind, right? So when I was 26 years old and suddenly I'm at a physical therapy appointment thinking I'm there to get fitted for forearm crutches, and walking out with a appointment to be fitted for my first wheelchair, I did not think, nor did anyone warn me about the grieving process related to disability and losing physical mobility and losing independence. Because there's a lot of losses tied to disability, right? So I can only talk from my personal point of view, but a lot of you know this, some of you don't. When I was going through that transition myself, I lost it. And I had no idea what was going on. I started making decisions that I wouldn't normally make. I hurt people very close to me. I cheated on my partners, which was not something that I'm proud of, and also not something that would be of my norm. I lashed out at everybody close to me. I was drinking way more than I ever should, and just spiraling. I was angry at myself for letting this affect me as much as I was, even if I didn't realize that's what it was. I was angry at my body for getting to this point. I was angry at society being thrust into this world that I was so just absolutely not prepared to be a part of. And the amount of ableism and trying to live in a society that's not built for your level of ability, and trying to constantly explain why you're reacting a certain way or why a certain thing is hard for you, or it was just a lot. For me, I was diagnosed at 16, and I can remember, you have your elevator speech, right? So like you stop somebody in the elevator and then you ask a question, it's your automatic response. So mine was like, somebody asked me about my ring splints, if I was wearing them, or wanted to know something crazy about me, I'd be like, oh, I was born with a genetic disability. It's a genetic joint disorder. Everything dislocates pretty easily. They say I'll be in a wheelchair by the time I'm 20, but here I am. And that was a spiel. There was a spiel for years and years and years. And suddenly, that just lighthearted, laissez-faire kind of spiel became real life. Became real life real fast. Became real life as in, oh my God, I already lost my dream job of dancing on Broadway. Like, that was dream job number one in high school, that had to be put to rest from my disability. And now I'm looking at my dream job as a trauma flight nurse, also being put to rest because of my disability. And I didn't cope well. I did not cope well at all. Luckily, very quickly, I threw myself into learning more about the disability community, learning more about our needs, about experiences, talking to other people who had gone through similar things, having friends with disabilities that could kind of talk me through what I was going through. My issue personally has been, nurses are the worst patients, right? I suck at helping myself. I suck at advocating for myself. Please do not ask me how long I have needed a new PCP and if I have one yet, because nurses are the worst patients. So when it came to my own mental health and grappling with my own disability and my own, loss of independence, loss of mobility, new life, I didn't want to hear what anybody had to say. I did not care what anybody had to say. I was too stubborn and too stupid to realize the self-destruction I was bringing upon myself and everyone within a good arm's reach of me. But I knew how to help people. And I knew that what I was going through, I would figure out a way to let that help me help others. And that was kind of how I ended up dealing with my own grief. I ended up having to face it head on in order to become a better disability advocate for you guys, to become a better disability advocate as Miss Wheelchair Virginia. I was crowned not that long after I became a full-time wheelchair user. So I had to learn quick. If I wanted to represent our community, I needed to get my shit together and figure out my life to be a better leader for y'all. So let's talk about grief, right? So grief sucks. I found a lot with the grief related to loss and related to my disability. This is grief of any kind, but specifically we're talking about disability related grief here. Hits me out of goddamn nowhere, right? Like, for the dumbest things too. So when I was younger, when I was in college, it would hit me pretty bad when I would go to a theater, to a show, to watch people on stage performing and doing what I used to love to do. Watch dancers, watch a ballet, something like that. Makes total sense, right? People doing something that I can't do. It was very difficult for me when I was working as a case manager, kind of sitting on the sidelines and watching nurses get to work with patients, to do something that I was perfectly capable of doing mentally, but physically, and because of the situation I was in at the time, was no longer doing. Yes, I grieved in those moments, for sure. Absolutely. Many nights cried myself to sleep over moments like that. But sometimes grief makes me laugh a little bit about, like, the dumb things that it'll hit me so hard. One of them is, this one's not really dumb, but it's one that always comes out of nowhere. I miss getting to hold hands with my partner and just, like, walking down the street holding hands. Like, that's something that grief gets to me. Having a partner that's also disabled, though, that kind of helps because we just make our own rules. But that was a big one for me when I started requiring a mobility aid. And so I would have, when I was just using a cane and I'd have things in my hands, I'm like, I can't hold hands anymore. I'm a touchy-feely person. If you meet me in person, you will learn that. I am huggy. I am very tactile. So just not being able to hold my partner's hand was something that was just absolutely drove me nuts. I get so frustrated just not getting to just oh, I just need to grab something from the store. Just running into the store, right? That's not a thing anymore. Everything takes planning. Everything takes time. Everything takes energy. Everything takes a lot more equipment, a lot more energy, a lot more of my time, a lot more planning. I mean, everything. And it's so frustrating some days, right? And that grief is just, it's a lot, a whole lot. And I'm somebody who went through a fairly, gradual progression to my disability. I, have friends with spinal cord injuries or major traumatic events that led them to disability. Like, that is a whole other side of grief that we have, and grief needs to be felt, demands to be felt. What is it? Pain demands to be felt. Isn't that from The Fault in Our Stars? Where's my John Green people? God, I love John Green. Anyway, shout out. I love you. Fangirl. No, sorry. Just worked 12 hours and ADHD. What up? So grief demands to be felt. Something that has helped me tremendously through my process in dealing with my own grief and my own emotions relating to the changes with my body and my disability. One, therapy. Therapy. Disability specific therapy, if at all possible, but just therapy. Number one. Because whether you know it or not, whether you think you are the mentally strongest person in the world, if you go through something like this major life change, this loss of mobility, this loss of independence, you need therapy. You need to talk to somebody about it because you have more grief and you have more built up emotions about it than you could ever possibly realize. I said, no, I don't need therapy. I'm fine. Yeah, no. And then I ran around on all my partners and made a lot of really stupid decisions and hurt a lot of people very close to me. Do not be me. I regret hurting those people so much. And it took a lot of therapy for me to realize why I made these decisions that were so uncharacteristically me. Not so out of character for me. There we go. But a brighter note. So grief, there is not a day that goes by that something grief related to my disability doesn't come up. There's a hill that I could easily run up that pushing up is killing my shoulders, or there's a day where my joints are just not at all. My arms and upper body are dislocating and I can't freaking function and I'm already in a wheelchair. So like, are you fucking kidding me? Cannot one part of me work, please? Those days are the worst. But something that helps me is realizing all of the things that my disability has brought me. All of the ways that my disability has changed me for the better. If it weren't for my disability, I am not a patient person. I am not a patient person at all. And I will be the first one to tell you. The second one will be my mother and my sister. They will tell you immediately. And then also Ryan will tell you I'm not. My disability has made me slow down and realize, hey, you don't have to rush everywhere like everything's on fire. The world's not going anywhere. Well, technically it is if we don't get our shit together, but that's not the point. Point is, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to not chase everybody away constantly because you're just going a million miles a minute. Also, my disability has made me so much nicer and so much more forgiving of a person because I'm so much better at granting others grace because I need grace. We all need grace. We need to show ourselves grace. Without my disability, I wouldn't have met or connected with 15,000 followers on Instagram. I wouldn't have had my story shared 17 million times on LinkedIn. I wouldn't have touched as many lives as I've been able to touch if it weren't for my disability. I wouldn't be near the nurse that I am if it weren't for my disability. Disability can be our strength. Disability can be our superpower. And if you doubt me for a second, go watch the Paralympics. Okay, that's all I've got for you.